Hello everyone, welcome to this month's OptiStar webinar. Today I will be discussing personal cybersecurity. Now in the past I've covered related topics like home cyber defense or covered parts of this topic like discussing using multiple browsers to separate your work from your play. But I felt like it might be useful to cover specifics related to protecting yourself in our digital world. Now I'm going to present some tips today on not just how, but also why you should be looking to protect yourself from digital attack. As an IT professional, this subject is my free party question. I always say that most professions have that one question that everybody wants to get a free answer on when somebody at a party finds out what you do for a living. Now, dentists, they get it the worst when people pry open their mouths at a party and say, "What do you make of this?" Now, I get asked a lot of security-related questions. How can I secure my wireless network better? Is it safe to visit such and such website? Those sort of things. So I hope this webinar can provide a few of those answers for me now. My purpose is not to make anyone feel bad about their current security setup. No, instead, I want to help you to feel great about how protected you can be. Now, probably the worst mistake you can make with personal cybersecurity is to believe that it won't happen to me. Now, I'm not suggesting that you live your life as some sort of digital hermit wrapped in a fog of paranoia. I'm just saying that you shouldn't undervalue yourself to attackers. My wife and I often joke that if someone did break into our bank accounts, they'd be sorely disappointed with what they found. But the truth is that direct access to your money is not your most valuable asset to most attackers. In most cases, what they're really seeking is access to the things you have access to. Because sometimes that's the bigger fish that they want to fry. These days, it's not just your financial well-being at stake anyway. Your reputation and your credibility could be at stake. So don't underestimate your value and think that you're not a deserving target. I assure you that you are. So what can you do about it? Well, in the world of IT, we often discuss our local area networks, or LANs. That's the internal network that most of us work with. Now, we also discuss the WAN, or the wide area network, which is generally external networks. Let's talk briefly about something called the PAN, the personal area network. Now, a personal area network is a network concerned with the exchange of information in the vicinity of a person. Typically, these systems are wireless and involve the transmission of data between devices such as smartphones, personal computers, tablet computers, etc. This is the area that I want to focus on today. I want to help you to secure your PAN. Now, tip number one, keep your devices up to date. Whether it's a tablet, a phone, a computer, we all know what it's like to get software reminders, right? Usually, they pop up at the most inconvenient times, making it that much easier to put them off until tomorrow. But you need to fight that urge to delay. It's true that some of these updates can take a long time to complete or may require a reboot, which slows your day down. But these delays or interruptions will pale in comparison to the problems they can prevent. We've seen some phone security updates recently that fixed some huge security issues with those devices. We're talking about the kind of vulnerability that can let an attacker take control of the device. So it might also be necessary to install these updates to your device in order to use your software. Some software vendors won't work unless it sees that you have the latest updates installed for your operating system in order to let the software itself operate safely. Now, the second tip I'm going to give you today is to protect yourself by being mindful. It kind of goes without saying these days, but you should be careful what you click. Unsafe websites can automatically install malware on your computer. Email phishing can trick you into revealing personal data, and both can lead to being saddled with the dreaded ransomware attack. More on that in a minute. And yet it seems the more we say it, the more people seem to need to be reminded. Some of this is because a lot of the attacks we see these days are so well executed that it's easy to be lulled into making the mistake of clicking the wrong links. But a lot of it's because people just aren't as careful as they should be. Now, if you're not currently participating in some sort of security awareness training, either through your work or maybe on your own, you should be. I've always said that working with computers requires the right balance between fear and arrogance. The last thing you want is to be so scared that you can't get your work done. But you also don't want to be so arrogant that you think you already know everything. Balance is the answer. And a good security awareness training program will give you that right balance. You'll learn how to look at a seemingly legit email like this one, supposedly from Wells Fargo support, threatening to lock my account. Now, with a good security awareness training program, you'll start to be able to spot the giveaways in these messages that tell you to stay away. Like, for instance, Wells Fargo typically doesn't send out support messages from a Comcast email account, or to be weary of overly threatening messages designed to get you all revved up and emotional. Now, these programs even cover advice on spotting dangerous text messages as well. Scary or threatening messages like this one are designed to interrupt your natural thought processes and to make you click a link that's supposedly from your bank asking you to tell them your PIN. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, this one's for free, folks. No bank will ever ask you to click a link and confirm your PIN. So tip number 3, practice good password management. Be smart with your passwords, an acronym. They are the keys to your online kingdom, and you wouldn't leave your house or car keys just lying around, would you? Now make sure you create secure, strong passwords. Now, this chart shows you the value of length and complexity when it comes to passwords. This particular chart is from a website called security.org, and it helps you to visualize just how long it would take a hacker to brute force your password. A 7-character complex password can be cracked in 31 seconds, while one with 6 or fewer characters could be cracked instantly. Now, an 18-character password using just numbers would require 3 weeks to crack. And that same number of characters, but using only lowercase letters, would take 2 million years to crack. This is why passphrases, which use a long string of real but random words, can be more secure than even a complex but short password. Now, a passphrase is a long string of often random words. Passphrases are often more secure than passwords, but are usually easier to remember. For example, sunset dash beach dash sand. This uses words and a dash to separate each word, and total contains 17 characters, letters, and special characters. This one would take 2 billion years to crack, according to security.org. I haven't independently verified these numbers myself because I don't have 2 billion years to test, but you get the drift. The more characters and the more varied the characters, the more secure the password. We all have too many passwords to manage, and it's easy to take shortcuts like reusing the same password. Now, a password manager can help you to maintain strong, unique passwords for all of your accounts. At OptiStar, we recommend using a program called LastPass in order to help you generate and manage secure passwords. Also, if you haven't set up multi-factor authentication yet everywhere that you can, then you should do it as soon as possible. Multi-factor or two-factor authentication, they're the same thing, helps protect your accounts even if the attacker gets access to your password. Most sites and online services offer this as an option in your account settings, and more of them are requiring it, especially financial sites. You want to use a password generator to help you come up with better passwords. LastPass has one built in, and there's other free programs that can do this as well. But if you create your own passwords, just be smart about how you do it. Don't use personal information or one single word. Try not to use passwords over again. Don't be that guy who just increases his password incrementally by 1 digit or 1 letter. Password hacking programs know all the tricks, and some you've probably never thought of before. So be sure to avoid any patterns like numerical or alphabetical, or even those keyboard order passwords that you think are so clever. If it forms a pattern, a software hack tool can figure it out faster than you can type it out. More importantly, just think, if a password is really easy for you to remember, then it's even easier for someone to hack. Now, tip number 4, secure your devices. Make sure you have some antivirus or anti-malware or both installed on your computers. But don't rely on them to be 100% effective. Like most security features, say for instance airport security, they're designed to protect you against the last attack or the known attacks, not the next attack. But there's a lot of bad stuff already floating around out there, so we're still better off with antivirus programs than without them. Now, physical security is often overlooked, but it's not just a matter of the property loss when it comes to your computer or tablet. If those devices have personal data on them, then they are much more valuable for their potential aid to identity thieves than they are for your actual value at the pawn shop. So try not to leave your easily stolen equipment unattended. Lock your devices. I recently made the mistake of assuming that everyone had secured their phones or tablets by now, right? I mean, with a PIN or some other device lock. But I was reminded recently that there are still people out there who see that mild inconvenience as more irritating than, say, spending months or even years trying to repair their credit score after the identity theft that was made all the easier by not locking the device. Even the 4-digit PIN on most phones can make all the difference in protecting your personal data. Now, avoid public Wi-Fi and unknown public charging devices. I know it's tempting, especially when we really need something off the internet and our phones just cannot get a good connection. But be very wary of free public hotspots. While the connections themselves may in fact be legit, the fact that they have no control whatsoever over who or what connects to them means you're at risk from the other devices and users on that network. Now, if you have to connect to a public Wi-Fi, be sure to use a virtual private network or VPN software so that others on that network can't intercept your communications. There are many VPN software packages out there that you can choose from, such as ExpressVPN or NordVPN. Now, speaking of public dangers, there's a recent trend of attackers making charger cables available in public areas. Be careful connecting your phone or your tablet to one end of any cable that you're not totally sure where the other end goes. Now, tip number 5, back up your data. One of my favorite sayings is that there's only 2 kinds of people in this world, those who have lost valuable data and those who will. And you can always tell one from the other. People who have lost valuable data are always the first people to ask me questions about their backups. They always want to be certain they have copies of the stuff that matters. Now, one of the biggest forms of attack on the web today is ransomware. Now, ransomware is software that is usually placed into a computer via a phishing attack or an exploit kit. Now, once this malware has infected your computer, it attempts to encrypt one or more devices on the system. Now you're locked out of your system, and the user is typically demanded to pay a ransom to have the device unencrypted. So how do you best avoid a ransomware attack? Well, the best way to avoid a ransomware attack is to follow my earlier advice. Protect yourself. Keep your systems up to date. Install antivirus software. And, of course, be mindful before you click that phishing email. But if the worst should come to pass and you find yourself the victim of a ransomware attack, then the best way to mitigate this attack is to ensure you have one or more local and even remote backups of your data. Now, I will tell you that the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, does not recommend paying the ransom. Paying the ransom won't necessarily guarantee that you will get your data back. After all, these aren't the most honest people you're dealing with. And it simply encourages them to continue these activities and to go attack another person. But if you have your important data safely backed up, then it won't matter as much because you can wipe the entire system and just start over with your backup. Now, one really affordable way you can get a quick, easy, and dependable backup of your data is to buy yourself some cloud storage. There are a number of providers out there, but probably the most well-known are Microsoft's OneDrive, Google Drive, and Apple's iCloud platforms. These are easy to set up and to get working for most people, and they can give you a lot of space for the bucks. For instance, Microsoft's OneDrive comes in different flavors. All include the OneDrive application itself, which can be easily set up to back up your documents, desktop, and pictures. The free basic plan gives you 5 gigabytes of space, which won't work for most of us, but for $20 a year, you can sign up for 100 gigabytes, and for $70 a year, you get a terabyte or 1,000 gigabytes, plus access to all those sweet Office apps. So if your company already provides you with an Office 365 account, it may already include some space that you can use. But of course, the drawback is that it's tied to your company account. So you will need to find a different solution if you should ever leave that company. That's why I generally recommend having a separate account for your personal data. Now, likewise, the Google Drive solution is very similar priced and easy to use. There are, of course, other solutions out there. Some even include the backup software as well, and the prices will, of course, vary based on how much space you need. The most important part is that you get started backing up your data as soon as possible. Now, I realize that this was a lot of information to digest, so let's review 3 quick steps you can take right now to get started. So first of all, lock your devices. Set that pen on your phone or tablet right now. Password protect your personal laptop. Lock that stuff down. Next, apply those updates. Say yes to all those prompts. Let your devices update themselves ASAP. And get started with a password manager. One of your choice. We recommend LastPass, but anyone will do when it comes to helping you to manage those passwords. Start the process of securing those passwords. You know you want to do that. You've been telling yourself that you need to do it. So just do it. Protect the keys to your digital kingdom. And while you're at it, set up that multi-factor authentication as well. I mean, you can never be too careful. So, apply those updates. Now, you truly are the front line of defense when it comes to cybercrime. The attackers are the playground bullies. They're looking to punch you and steal your lunch money. The old saying that the best way to avoid a punch is to just not be there. Well, that's true. But these days, we can't afford to not participate in our digital world. We kind of have to be there. It's also true that nobody plans to fail. They just fail to plan, right? But as famous philosopher and world champion boxer Mike Tyson once famously said, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. Now, I'm hoping that what I've shown you today will help you not only to avoid getting punched in the face, but to also have a plan for if that happens, so you can punch back. Now, thanks again for joining us today. If you have any questions about your cybersecurity, reach out to your OptiStar account manager and see if they can help you to get some answers. If you don't have an OptiStar account manager, then reach out to us at ask@optistartech.com. We'll see if we can get you one. Take care and stay safe.